Hey guys, so today I want to share you about my deck for this Fusion Festival event. So let's go. In this event, I decided to use this Despia deck combined with DP engine and some red upline monsters. Why I choose Despia? Because first, Despia is strong deck. It has some annoying boss monsters and it's quite persistent because somehow some monsters has ability to resummon back to the field, so it's quite annoying. And another reason is this deck is quite relevant. Even if you check TCG right now, branded Despia is one of the meta decks. So I think it's not wasteful at all if you choose to build this deck. And then another big reason is because some of the Despia monsters is found in the most wanted selection pack, which is the refined blade that has both swordsoul, DPE, and Despia monsters. So with this selection pack, if you currently building swordsoul, you will get the Despia card as your side product, and you can use those side product to build a new deck for this fusion event. So you don't need to waste your games into another deck. Okay, let's go back to the deck. Oh, disclaimer. I use this deck to battle in gold rank 3 until gold rank 1. So if you are placed in higher or even lower rank, please just adjust this deck accordingly. So let's just go to the deck building. First of all, I will explain about my choice for hand traps. First is Maxi. Well, it's quite explanatory because in this event, Fusion Summon is count as special summon. So maybe this hand trap is the only hand trap that will always be guaranteed to be triggered because when your opponent is fusion summoning, it will get triggered. And even though they don't have fusion monster, many decks, even the rogue deck, are using the special summon mechanic. So yeah, it will almost be triggered. So this is important for you. And also for this Pia deck, having hand advantages will be very massive for you. So I think two of the maxi is the minimum that you will need. And as the natural counter for maxi, you need S Blossom. I choose three here. And if you already buy the special pack, you will already have one of the S Blossom. So you only need to craft two for this. But I think if you don't have enough crafting for S Blossom, you must at least bring one of the S Blossom. Why? Other than to counter Maxi, you will need S Blossom to counter the card like Keeper of Dragon Magic, that can search for fusion spell, and also it is a big a big counter for Fusion Destiny that can be used to summon DPE, because when people use Fusion Destiny, they usually choose the heroes from the deck, and they must send the material from their deck into graveyard, which is countered directly by S Blossom. Okay, so I think the three is a very good choice, 3S Blossom. But if you don't have any crafting material, one is still okay. Okay, next up, I have Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is a direct counter for DPE, because when DPE goes to graveyard, graveyard, you can just Call by the Grave it and banish it, so it has no chance to be revived anymore. Okay, and now let's talk about the engine. So in this deck, I have, let's see, four engine. The first is Despia engine, which use their field spell to make a fusion summon. The second one is the basic polymerization engine. It combines the Luna Black Ship and polymerization, so I can discard this Luna Black Ship to get polymerization. And the third one is, of course, the DPE engine. You use Fusion Destiny, discard two heroes card, and fusion for DPE. The fourth is Albas. The Albas engine use your opponent's monster to be fused with Albas and create new fusion monsters. So let's first see the Despia cards. So first I have three Despian Tragedy here. So the tragedy roll is for the fusion material. Uh, let's see the text. So if this card is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add one Despia monster. So basically, you use it as fusion material. It will be sent into graveyard, and you will be able to search for one Despia monsters. Usually, I use this effect to get Albert, Aluber, or I can get Dramaturge too. Okay. Next one, we go to the playmaker of this deck, which is Aluber. This card has effect when this card is normal or special summon. You can add one branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So in this deck, I have three types of branded spell. The first one is the field spell. This field spell will make you able to fusion summon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck using monster from your hand or your field. And also it has some protection effect, that is, if a face up non-fusion fairy monster leaves the field, you can resummon one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your graveyard. Uh, and this is why this deck is quite persistent, because even though you lose one of your monster, you will be able to resummon another monster from your graveyard, thus protecting you from some direct attack. The second option is branded in red. So if you want to use branded in red, you need to have Felon of Albas or Despia monster in your graveyard. You can take it and then use the following effect, which is fusion summoning one level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck. This is a great card to use and adding more monster advantages against your opponent. And the third option is branded opening. You can discard one card and then you take one Despia monster, and you can either just add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. Okay, and the rest of the text is you can only summon fusion monster, but it is very okay because this deck is fusion festival only. Okay, next up in this Despia deck, I have the Dramaturgs of Despia. This is quite good, 3000 attack monsters, and it has an effect when this card is used as fusion material and it's sent to the graveyard or banished, you can special summon this card. So if you fusion summon using this card, you will be able to get one extra monster in your field, and it's very good because it has 3k attack. This is quite solid. And another effect from the Dramaturgs is if a fusion, synchro, axis, or link monster is special summon, you can target one effect monster on the field and negate its effects until the end of this turn. A little note about this: the fusion summon don't need to be come from your opponent. You can fusion summon and then use the Dramaturg's effect to neutralize your opponent monster effect, and it's quite handy, mainly for Cyber Dragon, because without their effect they cannot do too much damage. And Cyber Dragon, I think they only have one monster at the end of the turn, and they rarely swarm the field with the monster. So when you manage to negate the effect of their boss monster, they are done for this turn, and it will make you easier to achieve victory. Okay, and the last one, at libitum. At libitum, it's just some extender for your combo. It's not really that important. So the ability of this card is when this card is used as fusion material, you can target one of your Despia or level 8 or higher fusion monster that's banished or in your graveyard and resummon it to your field. Will be helping if you have some fusion monsters in graveyard and you use this card as fusion material, and now in your field you will have at least two monsters. Okay. Uh, okay. Oh, and I have another hand trap in this deck. Nibiru. It's quite explanatory because Nibiru will be activated when your opponent make 5 special summon. But I think this Nibiru is not really important, at least in my experience from gold rank 3 until gold rank 1, because your opponent rarely make five or more special summon. They might just make two or three special summon, go to battle phase, and end their turn. So I don't think this is an important hand trap. It's far more not important than Maxi or has Blossom. Okay, so after the Despia, let's go to the Albas engine. So the Albas engine has only one mission, which is summon Fallen of Albas, and then discard one card from your hand, and then summon this card with your opponent monsters and make them lose one of their monster, and you manage to make one stronger fusion monsters. So to make it easier for Albas to come, I use Ecclesia here. Ecclesia is quite handy. First of all, because you can special summon it easily when your opponent has more monster than you, and it has quick effect, which is when you tribute this card, you can special summon Albas and then let Albas do his job. And another thing is Ecclesia is like Ecclesia is like and it will be used it can be used as fusion material for Albion the Branded Dragon. Okay. Next up, we go to the polymerization engine in this deck. So first of all, of course, we have polymerization, and polymerization engine is very important in this deck because you usually just have one quota or fusion summoning each turn by using the field spell effect. However, if you have polymerization in your hand, you can make extra one or even two fusion summoning. For this polymerization engine, I use the black sheep effect, which is when you discard this card, you can add one polymerization to your hand. So in this deck, I basically have four polymerization, and it's quite important too because if you manage to use polymerization first, for example, you have one black sheep, one polymerization, and one tragedy, you can just polymerize it, make one fusion summon, and you can trigger some card effect. For example, like tragedy, when it's sent to graveyard, you can add one of new Despia card, which I usually just Aluber, and also at limit, and also another card that can be triggered as fusion material is at limit 2. Uh, if this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material, you can special summon one of your fusion monster from your graveyard. Okay, but I I know that this Luna like Black Sheep engine is not consistent at all, and I think if you want, if you don't mind to craft some SR rarity card, to you can go to make Strike 4 engine, which is a combination of Strike 4 Patchwork and Edge in Chain. So basically, you can craft Strike 4 Patchwork, which which effect is adding one HE monster and one polymerization to your hand. When you activate this card, you'll be able to add one polymerization and one HE chain. So you will have polymerization and plus one dark monster in your hand. Uh, and one dark monster in your hand is very good because with this dark monster you will be able to make many vision cards. For example, Queritis, Masquerade, or even some predator monster like Starving Venom, Nagustapelia. So you have plus one in your hand by adding both polymerization and XE. But this card has another extra effect. Uh, when this card is sent to the graveyard or filled to the graveyard, you can add one frightful card. So when it is used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard, you will be able to add another frightful patchwork to your hand. So in your next turn, you will be able to do the combo game. You will be able to add one polymerization, one edge in chain, and then making another fusion monster. So I think this frightful engine is better. You can have two of these, two HM and two polymerization. Okay, and next up is the classic combo, the classic fusion destiny engine, which is used to summon DPE. So I have this fusion destiny hero Desert, and destiny hero Celestial. Uh, the destiny hero selection is quite explanatory because Celestial, when it is go to the graveyard and you don't have any other card in your hand, you can banish this card and one destiny hero draw two cards. For Desert, when it is on graveyard and you draw a monster during your draw phase, you can refill it and special summon it. So just imagine it. You have Desert in your graveyard and you somehow drawing the dramaturge and you will be able to special summon it. So it's a free 3k attack monster special summon to your field. That is big for this deck. But just be careful with this effect. For example, you just draw as Blossom and somehow you see a comment which is asking you whether to activate the desert effect or not, and you just say yes, and then somehow you special summon as Blossom out of nowhere, and that is simply just a big misplay for you. Okay, and for Fusion Destiny, I think it is better to have two, but I go with one. I go with one because I think it's not really good to depend on DPE because let's be honest here, many people will build their deck to will build their deck and in their mind they will build their deck to somehow have a counter for DPE. So I don't think relying too much in DPE is very good in this event. Okay, so after the the engine and the head threat, uh, maybe we will go to the fusion fusion monster in this deck. So first of all, you cannot have all of these cards from the from the swordsoul selection pack. Wood Dragon of the Swam is available in Ruler Mass and Albion 2. And for Starving Venom and Predaplant, you need to craft it. So it is not really cheap, but at least you will get the good boss monster in the Sword Soul selection pack. So I think it's still okay if you don't have this SR card from another selection pack, and you don't need to pull it specifically for this deck, because even without some of the extra card, you will still be able to easily complete the event. Okay, so let's go to the first season monster. I have Mud Dragon of the Swamp. Uh, it's not from the Sword Soul section pack. It's from the Roller Max, which also has dramaturgs and also qualities. So if you have managed to get to pull some pack in the Roller Max, I think you will already have this card. So the best card, the best part from this card is, first of all, it is easily made by using two monsters with the same attribute at different times. So in in my deck, the monster is mainly dark dark fairy, but I also have dark beast warrior from Lunalic Blade Ship, and also I have dark dragon from Albas. So it's easy to make it from monster in my deck, but the best use to make Wood Dragon is by using Albas. Albas come to the field, you discard one card, and you take your opponent Dark Vision monster, maybe their DPE, which is Warrior and Dark, and then use it to make Wood Dragon. You manage to make your opponent lose one of their monster, and you get this card, and it has amazing effect, which is you can declare one tribute, this card become that tribute, and your opponent cannot target this card or monster on the field with with the same attribute with card effect. So if you have some Despia summon monster, which is mainly dark monster, and then you manage to make Madragon, you just need to change it into dark, and somehow your opponent just cannot target your monster with card effect anymore. Uh, the second card in my extra deck is Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Another reason, the reason I add this card because it is easily made, because the requirement is just two dark monster on the field. Again, use it. I make it by using the Albas engine to make this Starving Venom. It has ability to copy one of your level 5 or higher monster, one of your opponent one of your opponent level 5 or higher monster effect, and then copy it. And if this card is destroyed, you can destroy all your opponent's special summon monster. It also has extra effect when this card is fusion summoned. You can make this card gain effect equal to one of your opponent's special summon monster. It is good to break high attack monster on your opponent's side, but I don't rate Starving Venom very highly, so if you don't want to craft extra XR card, I don't really recommend you to craft this card because it only has the ability to get extra attack when fusion summon and copy your opponent effect. It's not really that amazing. The third and the well, the only Predaplan card in my deck is Predaplan Dragostapelia. It has harder fusion requirement, which use one fusion monster and one dark monster. However, I don't think it will be a hard thing in your deck. Yes, you must sacrifice one of your fusion card, but I think it's worth it because this card is effect is weak effect. Weak effect. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, place one predator counter, and make its level into level 1, and negate the activated effect of your opponent monster. So as long as you have Dragostapelia in your field, you can once per turn negate one of your opponent monster effect permanently. And I think this is one of the most worth it card to craft because when you have this card and also Dramaturgs of Despia, you will be able to negate two of your two of your opponent's monster card per turn, and it will be very big advantage for you to win the game. Next up is just vanilla fusion card. I just use this card as extra card as extra fusion summon that can be used for the Albas engine. Pregrand the Glory Dragon. It's used by fusing Fallen of Albas with one level 8 or a higher monster. Uh, why this card is quite important? Because Despia cannot really fight again level 8 or higher monster. I will explain it later. But yeah, Brigand. I think Brigand is more important than Iron Death Dragon because it must use Fallen of Albas and one effect monster special summon this turn. So it's just some extra card in my deck. Next up, we go for Albion. Albion requirement is Fallen of Albas plus one like monster. Uh, the best part of this card is when it is fusion summon, you will be able to fusion summon one level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials from your hand, field, or graveyard. So just imagine you just managed to summon Albion and you have this black sheep and Despia and Aluber. Despia, you just fusion summon it and then you activate it effects. You use Aluber and Black Sheep, two dark monsters to make Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. So out of nowhere, you have one 2.5k attack monster and one 2.8k monster. With just one fusion summon, you will be able to get two very strong fusion monster. Uh, I use two Albion here, but I think one is enough and even though you don't have Albion, it's okay. I think if you manage to pull some packs in roller mass, I think it's better to have Titanic Club. Titanic Club. I think it's better to have Titanic Club for two or even three copies for it because it is far easier requirement than Albion because you rarely use like monster, and I use Ecclesia and Nibiru, and one of the reason I use them is for material to make Albion. But if you don't have Albion but have Titanic Club, it's better to have Titanic Club for three copies because you can make it just from Albas plus one monster with 2.5 or more attack. Okay. Next up. Next up is one of your one of your main boss monster, which is Despian Pirates. The requirement is easy. One Despia plus one light of that monster. Well, all of my monster card is, yeah, all of my main deck monster cards can be used as the material. Well, of course other than my hand traps here, but even I can use Nibiru as material to make qualities. So what makes qualities one of the main boss? Because in the main phase you can activate quick effect which make all all of your opponent monster attack become zero except level 8 or higher fusion monster, and it has extra effect too face if this face up card leaves the field because your opponent can effect. For example, it can Raigeki or Dark Hole. You can add to your hand or special summon one Albas or one Despia monster. So it's not a bad extra effect. It's very good actually because even though they manage to remove qualities, you'll be able to summon another monster and extend your game. So yeah, this is one of your boss monster, and the quick effect to make your opponent opponent monster attack to zero is very amazing. It will give you very big advantages, and it will give you a chance to do 2.5k damage to your opponent. Uh, this card is very good. It can counter non-fusion deck and fusion deck with low level. However, it has a big problem against level 8 or higher fusion monster, and usually level 8 or higher fusion monster has more attack than 2.5k. So Qualities is extremely fragile against high level fusion monster, and it needs to be protected. How to protect this card? Well, you use Dragos Tapelia effect. This is one of the reason why I really recommend you use Dragos Tapelia because this card quick effect will make your opponent fusion summon monster become level 1, and when it's become level 1, Qualities effect will take place, and Qualities will easily win in battle. Okay, next up we have DPE. DPE, the mascot or Fusion Festival engine, Fusion Festival event, the one of the best fusion card ever made. Well, I think majority of you know why it's strong. It has quick effect that can destroy one of your card and one of your opponent card. And at the next standby phase, it can resummon from graveyard. So yeah, it's one free pop, and it's it's very hard to counter. Next up, we have, well, if Despia for it is the first main boss monster, DPE the second main boss monster, then we will meet the third main boss monster, which is Masquerade the Blazing Dragon. Uh, One of the reason why Despia deck is so entertaining to play is because this card. You need to have two of these at least to give enough impact and enough pressure. Why you need two of this? Well, because when you manage to make two of it in your field, each one of them will burn your opponent for 600 life points each time they are activate their cards or effect. It's very big because if you manage to have two of this card, they can only have maximum of 6 times or for activating their effect. It will give them a very big pressure, and it really counters combo deck like maybe Heroes, Thunder Dragon, Cyber Dragon, maybe Dark Lord Despia too. It really counters them, and I believe some of the players, when they see their opponent manage to summon two of this card, they will just go to the settings and click the surrender button because it's that good, and it's a solid strategy for your first turn play. For the first turn play, if you manage to make two of these, then you will easily get the win. The last one in my extra deck is Proscenion. It's quite hard to make because it needs at least three material, one Despia, one light, one dark monster. The best part of this card is it can target one one extra deck monster in your opponent graveyard. You can banish it or special summon it. So imagine if you manage to make this, and then you see that your opponent has DPE in your graveyard. You can special summon it with it and use it against your opponent. It's very good, but you rarely manage to summon it. Okay, after the extra deck, let's see the let's see the spell and trap card. So first, I have the polymerization and fusion destiny, which use which use as the fusion engine in this deck. So it's quite self-explanatory. Next, I have Reigeki. Uh, in this event, I noticed that many of the players don't really use any trap card or any disruption card. Their deck just full of the fusion spell and monster, and many deck rarely use disruption. So, well, having Raigeki here is very good. It's very good. It's very good to make. It's very good to make you able to come back and win the game. Okay, so after Raigeki, I have Lightning Storm. I use it mainly for background removal. But if you have Harpies Feather Duster already, just use it. Okay. I have. Next, I have Super Poly. Well, Super Poly is another card that become the mascot for this Fusion Festival event. Super Poly is one of the craziest spell ever. First, it can be countered, and second, it can use all other monster in your opponent field. Use it, and you will get one strong fusion monster, and your opponent just lose two, just lose all of their monster. So this is very strong. With just discarding one card, you can fusion summon using one fusion monster from either field. So your opponent has two cards and you have two monster in your field and you have nothing. You can just discard one card, activate this super poly, and out of nowhere they have no monster and you have one monster and you can easily win from there. Next is Forbidden Chalice. I use Chalice as the cheap version of Impermanence. Uh, it has the ability to negate the opponent effect, and it's also quick play spell. So if you manage to set it in your first turn and in your second turn when your opponent want to activate their monster effect, you can just use Chalice and negate it. And yeah, this is branded opening, branded event, and also the Despia theater of branded. The three branded spell that I use in the Despia engine. Uh, some extra information here. If you fusion summon using branded in red, the monster you fusion summon cannot attack directly. Please just remember this because it will it will affect your battle result whether you can finish your opponent in that turn or not. Okay. And then I have compulsory evacuation device. I think compulsory is the best air trap in this event because when people fusion summon, they usually commit many resources. Uh, well, I think the I think the common rules is when they fusion summon, they use one spell card and then two monsters send it to graveyard. They already commit three card resources, and they pull out their fusion monster. When you manage to activate compulsory and return their fusion monster, they simply lose for resource for card resource, and it gives you a big advantages. And you can also use compulsory to return DPE to their deck and then just make DPE vanish out of nowhere. Well, this is very recommended in this event, and if you have some some well, if you don't if you have some spare for another trap card, then I recommend you have it at two at least or even three because it's very good to counter fusion monster with this. My last trap is evenly matched. Well, it's SR and I actually got it. That's the ability to make to give you a comeback chance because at the end of battle phase, if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can make your opponent banish cards from their field face down, so it has the same amount of cards as you do. It's very good to come back. And best part of this card is if you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. Okay, this is why this card is a good trap. However, it's not really lifesaver because you cannot activate it at battle phase, just at the end of battle phase. So if your opponent manages to have little damage at battle phase, then this card is useless. Okay, so well, that was trap card that I use in this deck, but I also have some recommendation. First, it's been the same. It's kinda a combination of chalice. Uh, it's kinda a combination of chalice and compulsory because first it negate your opponent monster like chalice, and also it makes your opponent monster cannot it makes your opponent monster it makes your opponent monster cannot attack like compulsory, although it has a little bit downside because it's not removing your opponent's card from the field, it just stop it from attacking and stop it from using their effect. But I think it's quite good if you don't have any other trap card and you want to use some trap card in your deck. Uh, Another card that is good in Despia deck, I think it's some drawing mechanics like Elder of Darkness. It says draw two cards, banish one dark monster from your hand, or if you do not have it, send your entire hand to the graveyard. It is easy, draw two and banish one. And you somehow, and if you somehow have Despian Tragedy, you banish it, you will be able to add one Despia monster because this card sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect to be able to add one Despia monster. So it's a good match for your deck. And I think another recommended draw mechanic card is Everis. What of Everis? If you manage to draw it when you already have 5 monsters in your graveyard, you can shuffle all 5 and then draw 2. It's very good because, for example, when Masquerade is already on graveyard, even though you can special summon this card, when this card is special summon but not fusion summon, the burn effect is not activated. So if you have Masquerade and other 4 monster card in your graveyard, just use Ivaris. You will be able to get back Masquerade in your extra deck, and then you will have an advantages with this draw 2 effect. And if you somehow got the fusion material, you can resummon, you can fusion summon Masquerade once again and activate his annoying burn effect. So it's very good combo, and also uh, Faris it's quite cheap because you can get it in a structure deck which only costs 500 gems and it is guaranteed. So you don't need to waste so much, and it's a good card. You if you have one of these in your deck, it is very good for your deck consistency. Okay, so I think that's all from my deck. Next up, I will give you the showcase, some replay from my experience of using this deck in this Fusion Festival event. So, alright, thanks guys. Uh, Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a very good day. Thank you.